Happy Independence Day, everybody. July 4th in the United States is a
Whoop,
special
whoop,
day.
whoop, whoop, whoop. Fireworks. The day when several dozens of people will lose their fingers.
That's true. When I was oh no, not my cough. When I was for years and into my 20s as a kid, and from my earliest memories, just the pyromania that it's down in there. A kid just loves a fire, a good fire. You get a fire going around the camp, and kids got to put a stick in it or wave it around. And I mean,
Yeah.
it's innate. And so then to have stuff that might flare up or blow up or shoot somewhere as a kid, oh my gosh, that's all I wanted to do. I was in this weird bug mode where back in the late 80s, I would find these catalogs where they would disclaim it like these may not be legal in your state, but you could order them.
Mm.
And I would save allowance money and order through these fireworks catalogs. Happy birthday, America, Johnny. Yay. I
Yeah.
hope you're feeling good too, recovering,
Yeah.
getting around a little bit, maybe. I don't know. But yes, I would order illegal fireworks and then I'd modify them, or
Ooh.
I'd get like, the string of black cats, or even um well, you could get M80s and things like that.
Yeah.
And I would wrap them up in tape really tight so they had extra resistance. And I was
Ooh.
just experimenting with like what that did. And I guess I got lucky with the fact that I I knew when and how to light it, and not like light it and then throw it. I had a close call with a little black cat once that kind of went off as I was throwing it. I'm like, okay, I gotta like not be stupid or get in trouble.
Yeah.
But man, I would tape bottle rockets together and tape them to stuff and shoot things around. And why I didn't start a fire in July in Idaho.
Yeah.
But back in the day as a kid, I was allowed to kind of get away with that. Anymore nowadays, oh, neighbors or enforcement is like the calls out,
Yeah.
and you don't get away with that.
No, 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 no. Yeah. Especially in dry places like New Mexico. Like there was hardly any fireworks going off last night. Like
Black
my
cat.
well, like I remember we used to do that kind of stuff too, but I would take bottle rockets and I'd light them outside the window of the car and I'd hold them there and then we'd let them go and they'd just kind of like just float right in front of the car a little bit and pop. So, but I remember I found a black cat sitting on the ground and it like had like a little stubby fuse and I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. I'm going to light this off." So I lit it and my friend was holding it and he was holding it like he could flick it, right? And when I lit it, the fuse just went zzz. I mean, it was just like almost instant. Like I guess the fuse was super dry or I don't know what. I don't know how long that thing had been sitting out, because we found it like in a ditch basically. And so the fuse went zip, I mean, just straight in the thing. And my friend, instead of just going, "Oh shit," and flicking it, he goes, "Oh shit," pulls it back here to flick it. And I'm like, and it went off here. So it's like there was me and him standing side by side. I lit the fuse. He pulls the thing back and then like explodes this thing right in my face. I'm like, "Why didn't you just fucking flick it, dude?" He's like, "I don't know. I just saw the fuse." And blah. But,
What do I do? Throw
oh my
it.
god! But it was just this natural reaction to like, like me, I'm like, my natural reaction was like, get rid of that, like flick it away. But I think his reaction was like, flick it far away, right? So it was like here, huh. But he only got to here and it was pop and he was like, "Oh my God, oh my hand." And like I had a bunch of like shit stuck in my face and
Your ears like,
yeah, and it was both of us just wee. I'm like,
yeah. And the way those are mass manufactured at wherever, like some Chinese factory, or I mean, who knows how the hell they make them in mass like that exactly? The fuses are not consistent. So some of those, you'd get a string of black cats. I'd unweave them and take them all apart. So I'd have little individual poppers. And what I learned the hard way was that I would just think, oh, a fuse goes a certain way. Some of them were just like,
yeah,
and others like died. But I'd take a little coffee cup, make a hole in the top, put it upside down, put it down in there and light it and top it down so that the coffee cup would go flying up.
yeah.
And it was like, if I had a trash can and an M80,
Bet
and
you I
there
can
was
make
one
that.
time,
Yeah.
oh my God, we almost got in trouble for one of those. Was launching a smaller metal trash can up. Like we thought, oh, it might kind of like go boo, and it launched. Now this is my kid's memory, but I want to say it was like 20 feet high.
Oh wow.
Thing just went brrr and flew up. It was like, whoa. And it was like
Oh,
slow motion tumbling in the air, crashed on the ground, kind of bent and busted the thing up. And it was like,
yeah. Oops.
whoa. And this is in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, do we just run or do we try to clean up the mess? Because, yeah, that's just something neighbors call on. And
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, I did have,
Still got my ear, Johnny.
yeah, you're still ringing.
Yeah, you know, we used to go camping at Elephant Butte Lake down in southern New Mexico, like me and my family. And one year, these kids brought out a fucking cannon, right? And if I remember correctly, they were either using a 1/4 pound or a 1/2 pound of black powder per charge. So they would spend all this time, they'd bury the thing in the sand, they would pour all this charge in there, and they would just stuff it full of newspaper, and then they'd stand way back and just be like, kaboom! And it literally was like a shockwave, just poof, like would come off the front of this thing. And it's just paper, you know, flapping around through the air. But the guy, everyone would sit around and go, wait, wait, wait. And then all of a sudden it would rain. Like it would literally knock condensation out of the air, dude. Like it was insane.
God.
But you'd see a shockwave across the lake. You'd see like the big ring come off the, you know, I mean, it was just like you could feel it, you know, it was just, it wasn't like, it wasn't
skills we need to free a nation from a sovereign.
Yeah, well, that's certainly one of them, dude. I don't know what that guy made that out of, but oh my god, it was an event. Like I'll never forget that. It was just sort of kablooey, you know.
The Second Amendment covers my right to have a cannon.
Yeah, apparently not, but you know.
I've never actually had a cannon, but I mean, yeah, sometimes you need a good cannon if you got big cavalry coming.
Yeah, well, cannons hurt, you know.
Oh, dude.
They're pretty good at launching stuff.
So yeah, when my oldest boys now were young too, by habit, I was training them in the art of fun fireworks.
Ooh.
But you know, living where we live now, you can't really get away with it. And society has changed, awareness and safety mindset has changed. And I quickly had to shift into parental like
sparklers are fun.
I could be a bad parent.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was more like flowers and sparklers, and they would allow in an area certain mortars and Roman candles and stuff like that. So we would have fun, but I didn't really allow for my kids to get wild or next level with it. It was like, I want to keep you out of trouble. And anyway, but man, down in there is that spirit of blowing shit up.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, men do enjoy blowing stuff up. Like that is unmistakable.
just yeah, explorations on all that.
Do you know what tannerite is?
Yeah.
Binary.
It's like a plastic kind of or moldable clay stuff. I don't know what its substrate is, but yeah.
No, it's a binary explosive. You mix the two, like each component independently is very inert. You combine them and hit them with a concussive shock, like a rifle round, and it detonates explosively. But there's video of a guy who took a 50-gallon oil drum and filled it full of tannerite mixed, and then they went like 150 yards away and shot it with a 308. And when this thing went off, like it was like they have on video a piece of the barrel about yay big, just like right past the guy's head, dude. He's like, "Oh, that was a fucking terrible idea." Like, whoa, that was so bad. Oh my god. Like,
well,
you know, if you think about that, it's just like you're literally just like that far away from like, you know, getting your face split in two with a flying piece of shrapnel. But I mean, it's just stuff like that. Like guys will go out and do dumb shit like that, you know, and just.
Oh yeah. Well, tonight it's gonna be loud around here through the night. You're gonna hear booms and stuff. And they have this big sanctioned pretty well, I think you know, in the Dalles where it's like
a lake, right?
A pretty big fireworks show out on a barge in the river, and it's big. I mean,
Didn't they set somebody on fire doing that last year, a couple years ago, though?
The barge, part of the barge caught on fire. I don't think anybody
Yeah.
was hurt, but
Oopsie.
yeah, but it's out in the river, so say there was a big conflagration, everything went up, it would just sink or whatever.
Yeah.
But in across the river in the little suburbia of Washington State, right across the river, there's an area of sandy desert area that the fire department stands by and allows people to do all this shit, and they allow for all kinds of mortars, and people spend a lot of money on this
Yeah.
stuff, and so you can watch it from across the river. But almost every year a fire gets started somewhere, and I don't know how many people often get hurt. Really, I've heard stories people have close calls like that, but every year, man, I swear it's around here the spirit of fireworks is alive and well in a lot of people, and they just go mad for it.
Yeah.
um, I can appreciate the energy and the show, but
Yeah.
anymore to spend the money or to do all that, and I've had my close calls, it's like, other crazy people can do that. There's plenty of it, but how
Yeah.
many people lose some hearing or more tonight?
Oh, dude. Yeah, this is the #1 finger amputation day of the year. I mean, it happens, right? Like it's a dangerous thing that people are messing around with. I think they really underestimate it. There's that one video of like it's a family sitting in their front yard and they end up touching off like every single firework they had in the trunk of their SUV, like that was parked right there. Like some guy set off something and it led to a chain reaction where it's just like chaos. There's like people picking up babies off the grass and like, oh my God, just like fucking rockets shooting off all over the place. But you look at that kind of stuff, but just watch, there's some video of a fireworks manufacturing facility that went up. And when you see that go off, you're just like, oh, that's like a thermobaric bomb. That's not a little toy that you should be playing with. I mean, so when you're talking about like high explosives and the way they pack these charges and the widely varying quality control, I mean, it's just like basically paper bombs that you're just creating, and then people start doing stuff like they tamp the explosives or they'll, direct the explosives, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're creating like missiles, dude. You're creating like grenades and really dangerous shit. But
a pipe with a cap not tight enough on the end of it, or just the sheer pressure, like you think, oh, this is the same amount of powder I've used before, but it's in a different pipe, or just the surprising physics of how that all works is not what you expect.
Oh yeah. You can, those high pressure, I mean, it's crazy, dude, but it's kind of crazy if you think about like all the ways that people can like create improvised sort of, like if you just get out of the black powder, gunpowder sort of range and get into like all sorts of other stuff. Most insane fireworks by citizens was New Year's in Estonia. People save up for months and every neighbor. Oh my goodness.
Competition for New Year's. Yeah, I was kind of thinking like what different countries, what the event is that they celebrate and why. I mean, any excuse to have some fireworks. And in America, it is tethered to that fiercely independent spirit of July 4th, 1776, United States Declaration of Independence.
The original Brexit.
The original, yeah, that was a Brexit, wasn't it?
100%.
Separation.
Yeah.
Separation from British rule. The people that signed that document knew that they very well are going to be losing their heads if we lose, and that was not at all a conclusion that we would. How would these farmers win against the might of the British Navy and the king and the resources? And when you think about it, I mean, if King George hadn't been maybe a little mad, or hadn't have gotten involved with France the way they did and had been, or having help from Native Americans, so many little things that worked out for America. It was like early on in Bitcoin, many little things early on could have thrown it off or messed with it or not have stuck. And Bitcoin sort of just dropped a little bomb and quietly, calm like a bomb, quiet little bomb in the system, and it grew large enough that by the time it was like, oh, whoa, this is a thing, and it had grown enough.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think a lot of things did go wrong early on in Bitcoin, and they had to halt the chain, right, and reorg it, and
There was an article that came out just recently. Somebody did a deep dive on early deciphering of the blocks and the timing of it and stuff. And Satoshi was working to just kind of keep it running initially, and because it needed nodes and they needed to be talking and working, and it was janky for a while.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And until there were more than just a few people running nodes, I mean, Satoshi was running a few himself for sure, but
well, those were like what he was running then were miners, not
they were mining
nodes like what we think of today. Like they were mining nodes, right?
Yeah.
So
they were all miners.
Yeah. Nowadays we're just barely node runners.
Yeah. Yeah, it's stuck and it grew, and it's
yeah, it overcame a bunch of crazy shenanigans and it survived. I mean, it's kind of a remarkable survival story because given the headwinds against something like that, like it's not trivial. And the fact that they're positioning it as like a currency to compete with sovereign currencies, like that's already problematic from a legal, regulatory, sovereign perspective, right? Like, so when you combine all those elements, it's like they're taking on enormous risk. The people that developed that and started propagating it were, they're confronted with potential like nation state actors going, I don't know about that. But they pulled it off somehow. They kind of wiggled their way through it, and now we got people can argue about fucking short-term problems for the next, I don't know how much longer this argument's going to last, a month or two maybe.
We'll see. I guess we find out here later this year what's going on with everything.
We're gonna find out next month.
Next month, potentially. What was it? August 8th at 11 p.m. Something like around there. There's user activated soft fork kind of trigger pull.
Well, it's more like a really vocal minority activated soft fork. It's not a user. There's no users care about this.
There's a lot of vocal folks out there signaling. I don't know how I literally, like, Jimmy Sung wrote a pretty good article about, like, because he's getting called out for, and oh boy, we're going into this topic. This is not a topic we this is a dangerous topic.
Well, that's the problem right there. Just the fact you're not allowed to openly discuss it is the biggest evidence of why this is a terrible fucking idea. Like, if the proponents of this idea won't let you discuss it, or won't let you challenge them, then you go like, well, you clearly you're not willing to subject yourself to the public debate space, right? Like, if you just get insta-blocked because you say something that they don't like, then
it's spicy. If you're on one side, you're trolled on. If you're on the other side, you're trolled on. If you're evaluating it all and aren't quite sure how this really works out, or are still
you're trolled,
you're a fence sitter getting splinters, and it's like you're trolled every direction you go if you talk about it. It's like, what side are you on, or are you a fence sitter? Jimmy Song wrote a really good article that was well reasoned about why he's got his personal ethos about it. He also wants the network strong and secure and cohesive. We don't want vulnerabilities and fractionation and stuff. But it's like, it's complicated, and we don't know what all maybe could occur from all this. And so I thought he was well spoken in evaluating it, even as he works with Samson Mao on what's it called? Their node idea for software to run. I'll have to look it up. But anyway, he's engaged with the space. He's just not like one side or the other. But it's you get attacked all around. So,
well, that's like
production ready, I think is what it's called. Production ready is what the node software is being called.
Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, like, core monoculture has been a problem for a decade, right? Like that's not something fucking new. And like presenting it as such, like David Bailey came out with something, and like he obviously has an opinion on the thing, but if you kind of read, I don't know, dude, the tactics that have been utilized to this point, like it's all ad hominem, it's all politicking. There's no technical any discussion going on at all. So, if you drift into the technical, like a lot of these things start falling apart. But as a political project, you just go, like, this is all I can tell you. I did a deep dive in the history of anti-money laundering legislation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you the identical, and I can't stress this enough, the exact same identical tactics were used to push through money laundering legislation as they're being used to push through BIP 110 and knots and filtering and all this kind of shit. Like, it's the identical tactics. If you go back to the 1960s, there were these moral purists that were raising the alarm, talking about how critical and imperative it is that we start stamping out the scourge of people using Swiss bank accounts to launder money. And not even launder money, it was the scourge of rich, wealthy people using Swiss banks to evade taxes. And what they would do is a Swiss bank would take, anonymous deposits, basically. Like, you were assigned a number at your Swiss bank, and there's like literally one human being at the Swiss bank that knew your actual identity that could tie it to that number, right? And that person was bound by very, very strict Swiss privacy laws. If he revealed that number, he's looking at like 25 years in prison, right? Like, they took it dead fucking serious. They don't want anybody knowing who owns this bank account. If you had that number, you had access to that bank account, full stop. Hey, what's up, sweet bitty? Happy Fourth. So what was happening there was, like, these people would deposit money into these Swiss banks. The Swiss bank would invest in stocks in the United States. Those stocks would get gains. They would distribute those gains back to the people that invested. And then those people could withdraw that money from the Swiss bank because there's no taxable event. They just put money in a bank. They took more money back out of the bank. The U.S. government couldn't see this, and they got very pissy about that. So they started stamping their feet and this and that and the other thing, and they pushed through a very, very contentious rule. The bank, like, authorities can seize bank records and go look through them and figure out who a beneficial owner is and where these things come from. That culminated in a Supreme Court fight that said, well, you don't really have privacy rights to your bank records. That's like a different kind of property right. And then from that, the money laundering regime was built. But you had the same moral language, you had the same sense of urgency, you had the same dire consequences if we don't do it. Like, all that same identical rhetoric was used to push through the most pernicious legal system that's ever been envisioned in the United States of America, the money laundering complex. And you've seen what that's resulted in now. Like, people, like, part of Bitcoin's ethos is to defeat that kind of shit. And now you've got these people that are attacking it the same exact way with the same exact rhetoric. I can't see this as like a good faith anything. Like, this just looks like a political project for unknown outcomes. Like, I just don't get it. So now I've kind of outed myself.
I don't know. I'm going to be paying close attention, listening to, and I'm just curious to see what goes, because within a few blocks, it's kind of like, okay, so what's happening here? What are the miners doing? What are nodes doing? What is the chain doing? And what does that mean? I'm going to be paying attention. I want to say 80 IQ pleb mentality. I think there's days where I feel like in the scheme of Bitcoin, it's 60 IQ. But my view on it is that when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with one another and to assume among the powers of the earth the separation and equal station to which the laws of
You're not
nature—
going to read this whole thing, are you?
No. We should declare causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. They are endowed by their creator with certain—
Oh, you are going to read the whole goddamn thing. Jiminy
life,
Christ.
liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And it is the right to the people to alter or abolish it and institute a new government. So I have the spirit of 4th of July in me today.
I guess so. Well, what's that got to do with anything we're talking about?
As
Or is
long
that a desperate attempt to steer the conversation away?
which maybe both. Whichever direction all this goes, I believe in Bitcoin's solution as a tool to do that, as it has been doing in ways we didn't expect and much more slowly than I would have wished, but it is perpetual nonetheless.
Well, we'll see. I mean, like,
if it doesn't become state coin, bank coin.
yeah, bank coin. I mean, it kind of already is, dude. Like, I think what people in this entire debate have missed, the sort of underlying crucial point to this is it's the economic consensus almost matters more than the, pleb consensus or the group consensus or node consensus or anything like that, right? Like, and I just don't think people have fully grokked like how pernicious and deeply embedded and deeply entrenched the economic consensus is, right? So you can squabble on the margins and you can do this, that, and the other thing, but the economic actors are going to follow the economic incentives 100%. And I don't think it's virtue signaling for a side chain, right? Like I don't see like Coinbase going like, yeah, we're going to put all of the billions of dollars we have invested in this coin and risk it on this little like side project that we may or may not agree with in principle or in practice. And I don't think BlackRock's going to do it. And I don't think Fidelity's going to do it. And if those are the actors that are signaling for like which chain is actually Bitcoin, how many plebs, quote unquote, the plebs that when Robin talks about nodes on his show, half of his audience goes, "What's a node?" So those are the Bitcoiners that you're dealing with as a general rule. There are people that have like $300 on Coinbase and Bitcoin and $20 in Dogcoin and $20 in Fartcoin and $20 in some other bullshit coin. And that's all they own. That's the only way they interface with it. And there are people that have lots of Bitcoin on Kraken and Coinbase and Binance and all this kind of shit. If there is some sort of split and it's on ideological lines and BlackRock, Fidelity, Kraken, Coinbase, everybody is on the side of the one that has the most money on it, how many people are willing to forego their financial stake that they've accumulated so they can go chase the ideological purity test chain? I think it's none. Like, I don't even think the Puritans would give up their stack or the value of their stack to stick to their guns. Maybe I'll be proven wrong here, but I think if you've got, 100 Bitcoin sitting around and then you find out that it's not worth anything anymore, chances are good you're not going to want to keep following that chain, right? Like, that just doesn't make economic sense to me. But what do I know? Maybe, just maybe the entire world will wake up, fully grok what all of this means, what all of these arguments are about, who is on the right or wrong side of it, and then they'll all collectively decide to pressure Coinbase, Kraken, Fidelity, BlackRock, and everybody else to vote their way. I think that, it's a non-zero chance that could happen, but I think the overwhelming likelihood is probably not, right? So whichever chain has the most economic activity on it is going to be the one that's going to be Bitcoin. Full stop, period. And the Bcash people figured this out a long time ago. The BSV people figured this out a long time ago. Every fucking fork of Bitcoin has figured this out a long time ago. So why there's a group expecting a different result this time I just don't know, dude.
I know Mechanic will frame it as like it makes more sense to just adopt 110 because to not change could give you risk in terms of not having the blocks you might otherwise make money on get propagated or validated. I think with this like block height deadline, I'm sure miners are like waiting and they're not going to project themselves too early, but I'm wondering if the time will come, the line will be crossed and miners are just sitting quietly and do nothing, or as that date approaches, if any miners will start to signal for it. I'm not aware of too many or any, maybe.
Well, why would they wait? Why not just signal now if that's their intention? But they have massive structural, institutional, and financial incentives not to do that because it risks a fucking chain split. And that is chaos for the entire financial apparatus that is deeply embedded in Bitcoin now. Like it or not, it's there. And oddly enough, and I kind of love that Isabella pointed this out in one of her videos recently. Like a few years ago, people were sucking the balls of institutions for them to adopt it. They couldn't wait for banks to come in and offer custody and do this and that. And the institutions are coming. That used to be a fucking thing on Twitter, like ad nauseum. Institutions are here. And I don't think people really thought through what that means. They just were thinking number go up. I think like, look, if all these people start buying Bitcoin, then my stack's going to be worth lots. Yay. And they've grossly misunderestimated what that means and what that looks like. And what's happened with that institutional layer coming in is a structural shift in how Bitcoin is propagated. That's why I'm like such a huge, like I've got such a hard on for people taking self-custody, because that's the only thing that can keep that layer even remotely separated. And I think, on some level, maybe it's just too late. Like maybe we've already got Bitcoin, we just don't realize it yet. But we'll see what happens with if people actually start understanding what that property right entails. If they start understanding just how powerful it is to hold Bitcoin in self-custody and be a sovereign wealth holder, not a paper Bitcoin recipient, not a IOU holder, then you might start moving the needle on meaning behind all this. But until you get that sort of saturation point, like the overwhelming majority, and it's not even close, of people that have exposure to Bitcoin do so through regulated exchanges, like by and large. I mean, there's not like this legions of people that are taking self-custody and doing so like in a reliable self-sovereign manner. They're taking an IOU in Bitcoin on Coinbase or Kraken or Binance or some bullshit. And then chances are good they're probably levering it, dicking around with day trading and God knows what else. So,
Yeah, I was thinking about
take that self-custody.
Yeah, take self-custody. And if an entity like BlackRock, it's their biggest ETF, the biggest growing ETF for a lot of these companies. This is important to them to have, money secured and working for their customers and themselves. And so it's like, okay, if they were concerned about something specifically, they would do things to shore up and protect that asset. Now you could say maybe they're being careful and they don't want to project too much about it, or maybe they're doing things behind the scenes, but be like, you don't see a BlackRock spinning up a whole bunch of nodes or doing a whole bunch of overt mining or signaling for things one way or another. They're kind of just sitting on it, other than just saying, whichever one we choose is what Bitcoin is. I had to look it up. BlackRock is a major investor in Bitcoin mining companies, holding nearly $2 billion in equity across the sector in mining firms such as Marathon, Riot, Bitfarms, and Hut 8.
Right. So BlackRock has tangential control over probably 30% of the hash. So just stick that pipe in your smoke it. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it.
Yeah. So again, I feel strongly that Bitcoin will continue to run and function with bumps in the road, if it's bumps in the road, or just sort of like, oh, this is how this kind of stuff plays out. I also don't know what to expect entirely. So, because I've heard from different camps, like this and that could happen, or everything from like nothing burger to chain split and pick one. And it's like, huh.
Well, I mean, the thing is, there's no hash signaling for it. So without hash, it's a meaningless fucking protest, right? Like if there's no hash following that chain's dead on arrival. Like full stop, period. There's no other like magical fucking thing that's going to happen if you have any sort of split like that, where you've got grossly minority hash trying to enforce new rules, right? Like it's just, it dies before it even has a chance to go. Longest chain wins. And if the longest chain is being mined by 99% of the hash, then you go, well, how are you going to out fucking pace that? So you gotta, but that's, I mean, like all of the stuff that's embedded in this is highly contentious. Like I shouldn't say I mean, it's obviously contentious, but it's non-standard, right? Like if you look at the entire history of soft fork proposals, none of them have the characteristics of this one. None of them have been like a thing that somebody coughed up fucking 6 months ago and then has a mandatory signaling window and most of them expire. They go, oh, if there's no signal, it expires. Not, we're just going to fucking do it anyway. Most of them are 90 or 95% thresholds, not 55. And so you go, why are you doing all this like non-standard thing for a consensus change? Like, why would you, and their argument is like, well, because it's an urgent problem. I go, the urgent problem that's like been there since Taproot. Like, what are you talking about? So I don't know, dude. Like, I hope Bitcoin survives this. I fear what they're doing is going to drive something closer to like cementing Bankcoin rather than, breaking free from Bankcoin. But we'll see what happens, I guess. Like they've uncorked this, they've opened this little Pandora's box. They've introduced like a lot of very high friction ideas into the space about how change should happen. They've chased off devs. They've done, like just about everything. Like if you looked at it as it's a destructive force very clearly. Like just go look at your timeline and tell me how many people are in agreement. You go, that's if you've taken a community that was, more or less kind of going in the same way, and then you've deeply fractured it. I go, that's a negative right there. So I don't know, dude. We'll see.
We shall see. It'll be more that we all learn from in terms of the strategy and the fallout of these kinds of things in a network like this, which I have no familiarity with. I didn't. I mean, the block size wars were different in a way. That was way more like overt, where the miners were driving a thing, and then the nodes said no.
Right, but economically powerful nodes said no.
Yeah.
Like the Coinbases and the Krakens said no. Hey, what's up, Travis? Gosh,
dude, Travis, we haven't seen you in a while. I know.
Yeah, happy 4th, dude.
Yeah, happy 4th, man. Well, not to beat this horse that is running a race. I'm not a gambler in this space, but we have a new Gen 2, the Gen 2 out, and I'm gonna play some real quick that you put. You care if I play the video you made?
Oh, no.
End of it.
I made it for a reason.
Yeah, I think this is cool. Let's see. I put it in a tab where you should be able to.
Man. Huh? I never realized like how old I'm getting until I look at these videos. Oh my god, dude!
Outdoor lighting. Oh, sorry. Let me get this going here. You should be able to hear this.
Yeah, please take a look at the new feature, Gen 2.
There we go.
Thanks, everyone.
Hear this, right? New design. No table. Looks better than ever. Nicely done.
Good. Thank you. I muted myself.
Gen 2. Price is going to go down. Self-custody, the tool to do self-custody is becoming more accessible than ever, competitive with any competitor you might have considered, and you thought, oh, well, I want the best, but it's more expensive. Well, not for long.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we like, you know, you didn't play the part before. I mean, mostly I was just thanking people that have kind of come to MicroSeed already, but we spent a lot of time during this bear market, like trying to figure out ways to make this thing more affordable. I mean, as a core principle, right? Like, and what a lot of people don't realize, like one of the biggest complaints we got was, you know, MicroSeed is expensive. And I go, I know, I get that. Right. And like, there was no part of me that was sort of, hey, what's up, Robin?
Roger.
Yes, sir. You're welcome to join us if you like, or you can join us after for we have.
I know we can have a four-way here with Travis and Robin.
Yeah. But what, excuse me, what people don't realize about the MicroSeed design is like, you know, I'm proud of the design. I think it looks cool. As a machining project, it's a real pain in the ass. Like it's hard to make that thing.
Yeah.
And when I first came out, I was like, I want to keep the price low. I want to keep it. And I set prices deliberately low, like around 160, 170 bucks, something like that. And it took about 3 months to realize, like, oh, if I keep selling them at this rate, I'm going to be broke in 3 more months. Like, I mean, it was just like bleeding, like hemorrhaging money doing it that way. So I crank up the price a little bit more, crank up a little price, you know, and it finally got to a place where I asked a robot, like, what's a good retail price for this thing? And the robot's like, well, you should be selling it for about $340. I'm like, no one's going to buy this goddamn thing for $340. But that would have been like a reasonable profit margin for us, right? Like something where we could like reliably plan for the future and kind of roll out production and yada yada yada. But it just evaporates the customer base. Like who the hell is going to spend, you know? And after if you're a customer in Europe or something like that, where it's like you've got all the shipping expense and duties and taxes and all that kind of stuff that gets tacked on, like who's going to spend $500 on a seed stamping kit? Like it's preposterous, right? So we were trying to make do, but you know, that's the reason for the new redesign. It was like, we got to look at this thing from first principles. We got to look at this thing from, you know, a different lens, and we got to make this thing sustainable and something that we can actually put forth to the world. And that was the whole impetus behind the redesign. Plus we had a lot of customer feedback over the last year, you know, like people would talk about letter crowding. That was sometimes a problem. Sometimes washers would get stuck. You know, there's just a lot of little like tweaks that like, that we addressed with the new MicroSeed version, the Gen 2, because we made the washer a little bit bigger. We went from an inch washer to an inch and a quarter, which is about the size of a $50. So I'm like, it's still hideable. It's still all the great features of the 1-inch washer, but it makes the character spacing a little bit easier. It makes it so we can do 2 rows of 2mm letters. It made it so we could do special characters. It made it, you know, like it changed a bunch of stuff, and the design itself is way simpler. We used to have like 14 critical tolerances that we had to maintain with the original MicroSeed design. And for those of you who don't know, those are all like independent tolerances that all have to line up to make the MicroSeed work. And we had versions like where I machined them out and I just went, oh, this thing doesn't work because I'm off by like 0.1 millimeters on one dimension. So like when you have all those things that are kind of competing, like the margin for error goes up dramatically, right? So the new redesign, Travis, we're selling for $139 right now. We kind of got them on sale. The MicroSeed Advanced, which gives you upper and lowercase 2mm letters and all 27 special characters. That's going to be an additional $100 for that little setup. But we also include like a 6-pack of titanium washers and a 12-pack of stainless washers. So, yeah, but that even that right there is like a custom mold and a custom design. Like we had to invest a shit ton of money in making that mold happen. And that's solely so people can protect their passphrases, passwords, things like that. Like
lowercase, special
character, lowercase. Like, I mean, any complex password, you know, like API keys, you name it. Like you can now secure that information on titanium. And, you know, we did this not because there's like some sort of huge margin in this for us. We did this because we want people to take self-custody. We want people to be able to secure their data, especially really important data like Bitcoin seed phrases, Bitcoin passphrases. And so that's what this new design instantiates. And yeah, I mean, if you look at that, and those are nice, light little taps, it's a really easy device to use. Like, I mean, it just simplifies the whole process. Like one of the biggest failure modes of Bitcoin is like protecting that seed phrase and leaving it on a piece of paper or something like that. And this fixes that problem. Like it legitimately fixes it. Like that washer that I stamped out right there with all 27 lowercase characters and all 27 special characters, plus an additional there, that ampersand that comes with both. Yeah, that actually comes with the letter set. Just I'm going to change that default to a Bitcoin stamp. with our next run, but we got to get a mold made for that too. So it's all just like, but I mean, I don't know if probably none of you have ever dealt with industrial processes and like what it takes to manufacture a steel stamping mold that, in that fine detail, kind of like that. Like that was a non-trivial expense for us. But again, it's because we value the mission more than the money, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. And we didn't start this because it was easy, but because we thought it was going to be easy.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's amazing through the course of these little things and iterations. When you start out, it's like, well, it's like it boils down to making more and numbers and getting the word out. And then the nature of business and design and feedback and any kind of margin of profit you might imagine, but with the supply chain and the tariffs and the shipping. And then it's like, shit, how do we stay competitive?
Yeah.
Or how do we get competitive? We know it's the best, but how many people know that?
Yeah.
We wanted the price to be competitive. So at the Gen 2 basic kit here, 139, it's more accessible. So it's like, okay, you could buy a competitor for that much or more and have their thing. And not to trash them at all. If just do it. If you don't have self-custody, pick the tool you like. But at least we're not like a step beyond in price. It's more like, oh, this is similar or perhaps even less.
We have a very, very affordable option now. If you go back to the shop, you can show the base plate kit right there. That's $89. And I should mention, if you're in the rest of, it's like, these are US prices. If you're in the rest of the world, it's like 119 and 169, right? Because we have to account for shipping worldwide. But this is a very, very simple device. It comes with 3 titanium plates. They're the size of a credit card, that little cheap ass 3D printed alignment grid thing. And it's just enough that, like, if you don't want to spend a lot of money, you can do this. Like, just please get your seed phrase off paper. Don't leave that exposed to loss, because it's a catastrophic loss if you lose control of it. And this is just a simple, cheap way to do it. It's non-obtrusive. That's grade 5 titanium, just like anybody else. Those are 2mm punches. You can read them with the naked eye. It's a really solid little solution. Like if you look at the letter alignment, it's not perfect. It's sort of a little janky or whatever, but it's enough that you can read it. And if you just want to get in this thing super cheap, like low, entry, there you go, $89. Like, just please take self-custody. I don't care. You can actually just buy those plates. Go get some punches off Amazon, because if you go back to the shop, like, you can get those plates for like $36, like $12 each. You can take a hammer. You can just go punch out. Johnny, yeah. Well, we'll make a special Johnny only version for 500.
And also, we've had people ask, do you stamp my seed phrase? We will give you half off the price if you give us our seed phrase. We will stamp we know it's a little work, but we'll stamp your seed phrase for you, and we'll take half off.
Yeah, we'll take half off in all your Bitcoin.
And half off your everything.
Finn Creighton just had a guy on who apparently entered his seed phrase into a dubious device and got hacked. He lost 3 Bitcoin in a loss. And it's a stark reminder, like, the guy doesn't sound like he was a baboon. Like, he was a smart guy, but he just made a mistake, right? The thing is wherever you are entering these words is critically important to make sure that is a place where those words should be going, right? This is a bearer instrument, and whoever bears those seed words bears the Bitcoin. So if they get to it before you do, then you're asked out. So, please use some operational security. Please inform yourself. Like, taking self-custody is critically important to the Bitcoin experiment, to the individual holders, to the Bitcoin ecosystem. Like, that's the thing that gives you sovereign control over your financial assets. But it comes with responsibility. So take that responsibility seriously. Our friends at the Bitcoin Way can teach you how to do that. I'm shilling them, not because we're going to get anything from it. Obviously, there's no QR codes or anything like that. It's just the bitcoinway.com. just go set up a free appointment. They can walk you through this. I don't know what it costs. I've never actually gone through their process, but I know those guys. I trust their process. I trust their skills and abilities, and they have proven themselves to be very, very, very adept at helping people that are otherwise struggling with these concepts take self custody of their Bitcoin and take self sovereignty of their financial assets. It's an enormously beneficial service. So shout out to the Bitcoin Way guys.
Yeah.
Tony, Michael, Andy, all of you. Hello.
Yeah. I'm super excited with this on the 4th of July. It feels like, and we've hit the bottom. I'm sure of it. We've hit the bottom. It's at, it got towards 64,000 earlier. But anyway, no, I'm just joking on fiat price, but
yeah,
all roads lead upwards from here. Things are going good. Oh, but I was going to say, even after years of like hearing about, okay, like scams that have happened, people that got scammed, people are talking about it, aware, there's resources and discussion around, get the right help. Don't get out over your skis. Don't get in a rush. Don't make those mistakes. Be careful with this stuff. And at the Portland conference, Kyle, who made that Bitcoin documentary we saw in Africa, he was there and he was like, oh man, like just last week, a guy I know got his stack stolen in a scam. And I was like, you gotta be shitting me. And then in Prague, there were a couple of incidents I heard about, one of which from our buddy who was on the phone like the last day or second to last day, helping out a guy who was like, had gotten scammed.
I think he lost like 10 Bitcoin.
Oh my God. And so it's like, this stuff still happens.
Yeah. It's easy. I mean, that's the thing that people underestimate. They kind of go like, oh, well, that would never happen to me. I was like, it happens to people probably way smarter than you, way more often than you might realize. Like it's pernicious. It's a thing you need to take seriously, and that, I mean, for us, I actually think we have a benefit because we've worked in carceral situations. Like you can't take security for granted, right? So like they say, boring is good, like repetition is good, like following procedures is good. And all those things I think apply to our, Bitcoin holding and our strategies for doing so. And yeah, man, you got to take this stuff seriously,
Yeah. And I'll think like, and I keep, I keep my processes real, I mean, just boringly like same old thing. Or then if I try something new, instead of being like, oh yeah, I'll just do the same thing over here. But I always do like a little testing around, playing with it, checking it out. I feel comfortable with it. There's not something in this randomly weird that's different or throws me off. Like, okay, I know how this now works. Same, but different.
Yeah.
And I'll be careful with it. So as I'm still steadily learning and trying new things, I like, a new device or a new method or something. I always approach it with this paranoia of, okay, I don't know what I don't know. I'm going to verify. When I hear about scams and stuff, even though the base process I have is always really just boring and routine and like, well, I know how it works and what it is. And I check it and then I double check it. And then I'm like, there's always that pucker factor of like, is it confirmed? Yeah, it's there. Like, even though I know it's going to be fine, I'm always like watching like a hawk, like, okay, yep, it worked. Okay.
Right.
Of course it works. And I'm going to see that it worked. And when I hear of a scam, I go back and stop and think about my process again and go, it's kind of like, have I checked my balance lately? Like for real? Have I just checked it?
Yeah.
Like Tony or the Bitcoin Way had a thing they put out a couple months ago. I think it was like, would you know if your coins moved?
Right.
I mean, now if you've got them in, situated correctly, like, I don't know how they could, but then again, it's like worth checking. And also like, would you know if something did happen? And anyway, they can walk you through strategies around that. But I hear of a scam like that, and that's little tickle of paranoia in my mind kind of pops up of like, I'm gonna just check my stack.
Yeah. Well, it's good, man. I mean, like, I think people should be checking, verifying wallet access at least once a month, and just like breaking out your stuff, see if you can recreate things, see if you can access the wallet without your cold card or whatever hardware wallet you're using. Like, do you have a way to navigate around roadblocks, right? I think everybody should familiarize themselves with Tails. I mean, it's one of
Oh
the
yeah.
most important pieces of software I think you can like start to wrap your head around and just have on a USB stick somewhere. Like have a verified, like go through the steps to verify the package, go through the steps to verify the signatures, go through all the steps to make sure you have a valid Tor or Tails package, download it on a USB, and keep that thing safe as well, because that's a huge access point for Bitcoin, because every implementation of Tails comes with an Electrum wallet. With that Electrum wallet, you can actually access your Bitcoin anywhere in the world as long as you have that little USB stick, right? So even if your hardware wallet gets compromised, it gets smashed in a fire, it gets this, that, and the other thing, you don't necessarily have to go buy a new whatever wallet to make that happen. You can just have a little piece of software in your, it's not great for like offline cold storage. I mean, you can't use it that way, but it's a little, you got to do some extra steps. But in terms of like emergency access or like restoring access, if things like things in your personal world have gone all upside down and sideways, like it's an incredibly powerful tool. And if you have an Electrum wallet on a Tails build that you know is verified secure, or at least as close as you can possibly do, and you've got yourself a MicroSeed with your seed phrase stamped on a titanium washer, like you've got an enormous amount of power in a very, very small space, right? So it's very, very, very obscure. Like no one's going to second guess a USB drive in your bag. No one's going to care about a 1 inch or inch and a quarter washer in your bag. They might look at your cold card. They might look at some big fat titanium plate with a bunch of words on it. They might look at some weird convoluted device. It's got like a cartridge with weird little things in it. I mean, there's all kinds of things that they might look at. They'll definitely want to look at a stack of washers on a screw. But, you know, a USB drive and a single washer is bag trash. It's, you know, it's pocket lint. It's nothing to security screeners. And that's what we're talking about here, right? So
Yeah.
that's why MicroSeed's badass, dude.
Yeah, it makes me think about in terms of planning around stuff. This would be more for advanced people that are comfortable with their methods and they're thinking about advanced stuff. There was something this isn't new news, but uh, River uh, open sourced a shell script. They call it timelock.sh. Timelock. It uses op check lock time verify, but you can basically it's a bash script that creates a Bitcoin time locked transaction so that you can set a future block height and the coins that you specify cannot move until a certain block height is mined. So you can like lock up a Bitcoin UTXOs until a future block height. Uh, it'd be like, you know, you could secure and preserve Bitcoin for a future date or for like inheritance purposes and stuff. That just random squirrel moment I thought about. But when thinking about, you know, like what if I got hit by a bus and like what's my plan? And I guess my wife is looking at a treasure map. But anyway, that was cool. But it's open source and it's using existing scripting tools and it's batched into a shell script, so a bash script. So
Yeah,
that's
I mean, that's a nice thing. But that's a great point, though, right? Like, there's a lot of ways to make sure that you don't get separated from your stack, but it takes a lot more work than just leaving it on Coinbase or leaving it at River or leaving it with Swan or whatever it is. The Swan guys will actually tell you, please take self custody. Like they want it off their books as quickly as possible. But you know, a lot of people just don't want to do that, and I don't blame a lot of people for that attitude. Like if you're the kind of person that struggles with email and figuring out how to get your printer set up, like taking self custody, I don't think is any harder than setting up a printer, but you know, it's still a skill set that you have to learn. You have to wrap your head around things and you have to learn the failure modes is the more important part. Like it's one thing to learn the process of how to do it. It's another thing to learn all the ways that it can get screwed up, right? And that's the depth of understanding I think is important. But that's an educational gap, you know. And the thing is people navigate complex things all the time. Like go title your house and just go see what that process looks like and like read all those documents and you know you'll see how much complexity is involved in swapping title and having a loan on a house. Like that's not trivial, you know. And people navigate that every single day. Like they just kind of do it out of second nature. So I go, if you can figure out how to sign a mortgage, you can, I mean, most people just pencil whip it. They don't really read what the hell they're signing, but for the people that do, if you can figure out, if you can navigate a car contract, if you can figure out or navigate a mortgage contract, or if you can figure out and navigate any sort of complex corporate arrangement or anything like that, like taking self-custody is trivial by comparison. So that's my like argument against anybody that says, well, if you're technical, or, there's risk in taking self-custody, so you should just give it to a custodian. Like that attorney guy that was at Prague who was preaching about, like, oh yeah, you need to set up a trust, and you need to do this. Like, what about taking self-custody? He's like, oh, I wouldn't trust them to take self-custody. I'm like, so you trust them to understand how to navigate complex trust instruments, but you don't trust them to figure out how to fucking, print out 24 seed words and then transfer some stuff from a wallet to a wallet. Like, that sounds preposterous to me. But it, like, there's this entire layer of institutional people that are coming in trying to separate you from your money by capitalizing on your fear of the unknown, but that's fiat game. Bitcoin can save you from fiat games. Just take self-custody. Pretty please.
Yeah. Fiat games abound forever. There's a new stable coin. What is it called? Open USD. It's a stable coin put together by Visa, MasterCard, BlackRock, Stripe, Coinbase, Google, Ripple, Shopify, and more than 140 other companies that lined up behind a shared stable coin they're going to use together called Open USD. They charge 0 minting and redeeming fees with no volume caps, reserve earnings, or with partners after a management fee, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, it's been framed in the news as a possible threat to USDT or USDC. It's the take on this I read from TFTC, I guess, was sort of like, so they say they pass laws that say CBDCs are not allowed, at least for 4 years. No CBDCs. We're against CBDCs. There will not be CBDCs.
Right.
And they're saying you don't need a CBDC
Right.
if you have a
stable
completely controlled and legible and regulated stable coin. Now, that's USDT doesn't lend itself entirely to this, but it does to an extent.
Yeah.
But Open USD is completely that. So it's like, oh, we don't have a CBDC, but all these companies are using Open USDT as a stable coin, and it follows all the rules and all the compliance and all the things, and will jump, hop, and skip for OFAC and FinCEN and everything else. So it's not a CBDC.
So does Tether, though. So let's be clear about that.
That's true.
USDC also, but
yeah, that's true. So, but yeah, I get it though. Like, okay, so it's the overtly walled garden. Let's say the companies are all going to use this particular stable coin, whether or not it grows largely to be like I don't know if you'd call it a store of value, but a place where people put their money to use it, or if it's just simply used within this economy of theirs, in which, oh, it's not a central bank issued digital currency. It's just it's just our own stable coin that we all use.
It's just all the arms of the central bank are putting out a CBDC.
It's not a CBDC.
Not a CBDC. It's just, a CBDC. That's all. I mean, like, we'll see what happens with that. I mean, I can kind of imagine they're gonna what the basis for that is probably more about throttling Tether's influence. I mean, Tether is now like this massive institution. If you look at their history, if you go back to Tether in 2017, like that was a dodgy operation, dude. Like how they kept that thing alive is just baffles the mind. But what it tends to show you is like how many of these actors in the quote unquote crypto space have been functioning. Ethereum's still alive today, despite violating every single securities law in the United States. Tether is alive today, despite violating like Bank Secrecy Act, Fraud Act, like, just, I mean, all kinds of like crazy shit was going on under the hood at Tether. Like there was at one point, like I think the New York Attorney General's assessment of it, they said there was at one point where Tether claimed to have more treasuries or corporate treasuries than any other entity on planet Earth. And no one in the corporate treasury world had even heard of them. They're like, oh, so you guys have $60 billion of this stuff? Yeah. Where is it? You go, oh, it's here. Can we see that? Well, no, but
Can we buy some more treasury bonds from you?
Yeah. I mean,
Sure. Okay.
like it's all just
enough.
fictitious. I mean, they were just running fictitious numbers. They were just literally printing USDT and fucking buying Bitcoin with it, and then printing USDT and then buying Bitcoin. And it's just like, like talk about giving the power of the money printer to a private entity. So OpenUSD is, but nowadays, because they're so big, they're so massive, they're so financially intertwined in the legacy system, they can't be shut down anymore. The same thing with Binance. Like, there's a reason, what's his face only did 3 years in prison, is because he walked in the room and said, here, well, take a look. This is what happens if you shut us down. And everyone in the room went, ooh, oh, you guys are like, oh, you're like a big deal. Like you're like putting out a bank out of business.
Easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they go, well, how about you take a slap on the wrist, you clean up some of this shit, and we'll just let you keep doing whatever crypto casino you've been running this whole time. They're like, okay, cool. I'll do 3 years. Sure. No problem. And you walk out of it with like a shit ton of money, dude. Like, I mean, it's money speaks in the fiat land, and those guys have a lot more money than we do. So,
yeah, laundering $1,000 is a felony. Laundering millions and millions is a statistic.
Well, if you launder 1,000 million, it's a fine, right? If you launder 1,000, it's it's a mouse fart.
Yeah. Treasuries are in Brock Pierce's Puerto Rican guest house. Johnny would know. That's news to me.
I don't even know who Brock Pierce is.
Isn't he that actor?
Oh, that's Pierce Brosnan is what you're thinking.
Oh, I'm American Entrepreneur. Oh, okay.
That was the one-shot James Bond, was Pierce Brosnan.
Oh, yeah. American Entrepreneur, cryptocurrency. Oh, co-founded Tether. That's right.
Oh,
I didn't realize.
Yeah, you've actually nailed it. Yeah, they're 100% in his Puerto Rican guest house. He's got them now. I mean, they've made enough money off of printing money out of thin air to buy all those treasuries they needed to backstop all the fucking claims they had outstanding. But yeah, there was a time there where Tether could have been exploitated like pretty easily, and they just weathered it. I mean, it was literally like two guys just running the thing out of the Caymans or whatever, Puerto Rico. Right? Are they in Puerto Rico, or I thought they were offshore in the Caribbean? But yeah, but they also are sort of part and parcel responsible for a crypto market at all, and the market for Bitcoin. It was like huge, and it's Tether's influence that made a lot of that possible.
He does look like a wizard hat man.
Well, he looks like a guy who figured out a way to make money out of thin air. And
I didn't realize he was a child actor. The Mighty Ducks. Oh, he looks familiar. Huh. Weird.
Well,
God, I didn't realize he was so
he's
connected.
a Mighty Duck now.
Huh. Okay. Well, interesting. Yeah. Bitcoin, I think we've talked about this before, connecting the 4th of July, the Declaration of Independence, Bitcoin's freedom tech. If in hindsight, when the Constitution was written, when the amendments were being written to bolster all that after, concerns of this isn't enough, should there, I think I've mentioned this before and you had opinions about it, but in my mind, if they'd have known.
Wait. I had an opinion? No.
Yeah, right. Something related to something legal, moi. No. Part of me wishes either in the Constitution or as an amendment on par with the First, Second Amendment, there would have been something about money, the nature of this nation's money.
I think it's in the Constitution.
I mean, is it
shall be money? Yeah.
If it had gone further in the sense that, I mean, I guess how would they know? They didn't start. We didn't. The financial system didn't start really entangling itself until kind of like, oh, they won the war. Oh, they're their own nation. Oh, they need to have the first national bank of the U.S.
Well, it grants to to coin money and regulate the value thereof. But well, continue your thoughts. Sorry.
So yeah, so the U.S. can issue money, but they don't have to use it. So, like somewhere in a vault somewhere, yeah, the Treasury can issue gold and silver certificates, but is that the money we use? No. Can you get access to those? No, not really. I kind of just sort of wish I wish there had been protections around the nature of money put right in there that protected a young nation from the tentacles of a multi-headed Hydra banking cartel. Who could have known?
Well, I think if you look at the history of money, and what do you know? I do have an opinion. If you look at the history of money, that there is no way to keep finance out of sovereign affairs. Like it's impossible. Like they're part and parcel. They're the same exact mechanism. I'll break this down. If you were a Mesopotamian laborer back in the day, do you know how you became a Mesopotamian laborer?
You were living in the village or entered the village and were like, hey, can I be part of what's happening here because I'm hungry? And they're like, get in line, or here's your thing. Here's your shovel.
Well, if you actually look at the history, what was more likely to happen in these early proto grain states is they would get some grain farming going along and they'd start building some stuff. And then they go, hey, we need more workers. Oh, well, there's a bunch of those guys that are out there like hunting and gathering and doing stuff. Just go bonk a bunch of them on the head, tie them together with a rope, and then bring them back here and make them work. And they went, oh, okay, cool. Let's go do that. And so they just go out. And so you'd be some little hunter gatherer. You were feeding just fine. You were eating just fine. And then this big group of guys with stuff that you've never seen before come bonk you on the head and go, hey, you're coming with us. And they go, but why? And then they'd put you on a field and they go, hey, you want to eat? Work. And they go, oh, but I don't want to work. And then they beat the shit out of you. And if you wanted to eat, you worked. That's it. So guess what? You just got yourself a job. But that obligation is at the core of state power and state authority. Someone's going to come and make you do stuff so the state can get bigger and better. And if you look around at the world right now, that's exactly what you're doing today. And it's never been different between the Mesopotamian guy getting bonked on the head and getting dragged back to his village with a rope around his neck, and you today going to a fiat job and working to eat. Because right now, if you don't work, guess what happens? You don't eat. So the coercive mechanism is buried under layers of institutions and rules and ideas and philosophies and all this kind of stuff. But at the core of that political project, what people call money, is some guy bonking you on the head, putting a rope around your neck and saying, get to work on my field. So that's your original obligation. You owe me labor. Why? Because I'm bigger and stronger than you are, period. So that is still true today. You owe me labor. You owe me taxes. Why? Because I'm bigger and stronger than you. So get to work or you don't eat, period. Full stop, end of story. All the complexity that's built around that is ways to get out of doing that job. So you go, well, what if I get like 10 people to do work for me? And they go, okay, fine. As long as you can keep paying us, we don't care. There you go. So now I've created a labor pool that is now managed by a third party. And you go, well, what if I trade things to other people? What if I build shit you need and I sell it for a profit? And they go, can you still pay your debt to me? Yeah, then fine. That works. So you created a market. So when someone says, I wish they would have separated money from the state in 1776 or 1985 or whatever, 1989 in Russia, you go, you can't. They're the same thing. State power and money power are the same exact identical force. That's how states expand capacity. That's how they expand their power. That's how they expand their reach. It's through the coordination technology of money, but it's rooted in an obligation. You owe the state from the moment you take a breath until the moment you stop taking breaths. You owe the state, period. The way they enforce that, the way they obligate that, the way they coordinate that is through money. So how do you separate them? You can't. That's the fundamental point, is like there is no separation of money and state. There is the state that creates money to obligate you because you're already obligated to the state. So what you're really talking about is dissolving sovereign power. And I go, well, good luck with that, because anytime you need to coordinate anything, someone's going to come up and take lead of that. That's like it's self-evident. You can just go get a group of people together and go, hey, we're going to build a house. Someone's going to take charge of that. Someone's going to coordinate the resources. Someone's going to make somebody do something they don't necessarily want to do. you're going to end up in a hierarchy in a leadership position the second you need to coordinate any activity, period, full stop. So yeah, I have an opinion on that. I don't think they could have fixed money. I don't think they could have separated the bankers, because the bankers and the state are the same thing. They're part and parcel of the same entity. So,
well,
the invisible chains, they are, exactly.
The invisible chains. Shortly after the Revolutionary War of Independence, I mean, so we're a new nation. We're free. We're good. And then suddenly we had a lot of debts, and we were kind of broken. You know, stories of I can't remember what they called them, but you know, the early Revolution dollars that were the notes that were issued to help fund the war, and people bought them, and then they quickly were just worthless. Some barber wallpapered his barber shop in these revolutionary notes because they become worthless, worth less than wallpaper itself.
Yeah.
So debts and broke, and hey, you know, these guys distilling whiskey are making a lot of money. We had the Whiskey Rebellion. George Washington himself sent in troops to quell the Whiskey Rebellion over taxes on whiskey, and it kind of, the game started again pretty quickly. It'd be sort of like declaring, like, okay, usury is not just immoral but illegal. You cannot do usury. Full stop. Cannot do usury. It's immoral, against the nature of humans and God. Okay, no usury. And then all these machinations, and this is in your book too, but all these machinations go around behind the scenes. Like, this is not usury, but people have equity in companies and they get shares and stuff, and it's investments and they get reward for that. And it's not usury. Or they fiddle with the numbers or change it differently. And behind the thing, you know, everything you can do to do banking type things that is usury but isn't called usury.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's how you end up with these complex financial instruments. I mean, like, the history of money, monetary systems, monetary orders, sovereign power, sovereign states, state capacity, all that stuff. Like, it's a deeply intertwined, deeply layered thing that's been developing for the better part of 12,000 years. So when someone comes along and says, like, makes very simple statements about what money is, I just go, like, internally, I'm just like, you don't really, I don't think you quite grokked what this really means. And most people deal with or think about money in the way they interact with money. They go, well, I get paid money, I spend money, I save money, therefore money is for me. And I go, it's never been for you. Then nobody cares about you. The ideal outcome for the state is you produce it, and then they take as much as they possibly can, and you still stay alive to keep producing. And so what you see today is the modern version of that, where everybody's in debt. They're living paycheck to paycheck. They can just barely get by. And if anything happens to them, they're fucked. They end up like on the street, like not able to eat. They struggle. They got to downsize, this, that, and the other thing. So achieving escape velocity from that means you have to make it so you're extracting as well. You need to be the source of extraction for the state on behalf of the state, so you can insulate yourself from state reach and state, coercion. Like, there's some gal talking about, how come a billionaire only pays like 0.12% of their salary for Social Security, whereas a person making under 186,000 has to pay 12%. That's not fair. It's like, you clearly don't understand numbers. It's just like how a percentage changes based on contributions or whatever. But the point is, the billionaire is now insulated from, like, it doesn't matter to the billionaire if they've got to give up 0.0012% of their wealth every year in Social Security tax. Like, that doesn't affect them the same way as it affects you, because they've insulated themselves from sovereign reach by becoming semi-sovereign themselves, in that they have a whole group of workers that are doing things on their behalf that they can extract from. They're extracting your time and labor for a profit, and then they can shunt that off to the sovereign, and you get to go home and just barely get by and complain about how expensive your groceries are getting and all this kind of stuff, because you're still beholden to the state. You're just beholden to the state through a pseudo voluntary arrangement with an arm of the state, your employer. So, every business person is trying to do precisely that. They just don't realize it.
Yeah. Or needing to raise, for Social Security and other things, payroll tax from 13% to 17%. Just recently, I know we've mentioned this before, it's the same old story, yada, yada, but the Social Security Board of Trustees published its annual report. They do that every spring. Again, projected to run out of money, but instead of like in 7 years, it's a year earlier. Now it's like 6 years. So
I think it's
option
2030 now, isn't it?
it's shrunk. The runway is shortened. Options are to like raise the payroll tax from 12.5% to 16.5%. Or if you do nothing and you get to the deadline, I mean, I'm sure other things will happen, including just money printing, or just cut everybody's benefits by 25%.
Mhm.
Or you could cut the benefits of future retirees, the new coming future retirees, by 30%.
Right.
Just so not just your money is worth less, but the number you get is just going to be more
Smaller.
than a haircut.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, they are going to save that system. If you open a slave plantation filled with thousands of tax slaves, they'll loosen your change. Yeah, exactly. Like they stop feeling like chains. They start feeling like normal obligations. That's the crazy thing about monetary logic. So the way it embeds itself is through moral narratives and things like that. You end up in a place where you feel like, oh, this is all normal and this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm obligated. I don't know why. But since I was a little kid, I was always, the first time I got a paycheck, I was like, wait a minute, they took like I thought I got paid, $3.25 an hour. How come my check doesn't reflect that? This taxes. I go, what the hell is that for? Like that's not fair. Like someone not me can just take like I showed up and I did all this stuff. That doesn't seem right. But but like every adult around me was like, well, that's just the way it is. Get used to it. Suck it up. Like we're all bred and sort of selectively bred to be complacent to this arrangement and has been for 12,000 years. Quiet slave. Come on, Fritz.
there was another term I was tempted to use, but I don't want to sound weird. I won't say it.
Probably best. But I mean, I'm on record like way back in the day talking about like I've been planning since I was about 40 years old, just going like I feel like my retirement planning has to account for like a 20-25% haircut on my social security. Like I'm just assuming out of the gate that whatever they promised me, I'm going to take a haircut on, right? And the value of that money by the time I get it is going to be way less than what it is now, So I mean, everybody should be thinking about this. My expectation is that they raise taxes and give everybody a haircut because that makes the most sense, right? So, and if they do, well, it's only 10%. We're only taking 10%, and we're gonna bump your taxes by 3% instead of 4%. See, everyone wins. Yay! We got to save Social Security, but you're gonna start seeing the propaganda about a year prior to whatever rule they come up with, whatever fix they come up with. You're gonna start seeing all the shit on TV and all the shit on Twitter and all the shit on the political posturing and all that kind of stuff is all going to orient around like we need to save this thing, and how they come up with that and all the reasons why. But it's going to be moralizing language. It's going to be like obligation language. It's going to be like do your part and do your duty kind of stuff. And then they're going to bend you over and give it to you good.
Yeah.
Or you buy Bitcoin.
Yeah. When walking the tightrope of preventing revolution, massive disruption, another banking crisis or economic crisis, and yet don't call it monetary debasement. How do we afford all the things? I think when you've been stacking Bitcoin for a little while and you got your mindset skin in the game there, it just helps short circuit a lot of angst over that happening. On what time frame, to what extent, is it gradually and more gradually, or is it gradually and suddenly? All that stuff, instead of wondering when and how and what it might look like and how severe it might occur, or how long it all goes on forever, whatnot, you kind of just have this sense of peace because it's that step out the door or an inkling of a plan B, or at least something that is peace of mind, that all this other stuff can go on, but at least I also have this.
Yeah.
So it's some freedom.
Well, it's a high risk experiment still, right? Because there's no guarantee this thing's going to be around 100 years from now. But all indicators point towards probably, right? Mm-hmm. But it's definitely something that you can own, and that's something that no slave has ever been able to do since the beginning of time. No slaves have been allowed to own anything ever, 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 ever. So now with Bitcoin, every slave can own something that's valuable to other people, and they have the right to exclude anybody from that as long as it's in self custody. So whether or not it succeeds as a project, whether or not it protects you from the debasement, whether or not the number continues to go up, whether or not it becomes Bankcoin, all those things are kind of out of your control. But in terms of something that you can possibly exercise some control over, there is nothing else like it on planet Earth currently, right now, as we speak. So my thesis says get some in case it catches on, like just make sure you have some in self custody, because if it works the way I think it's going to go, and I'm pretty sure I've thought about it a long time, 50 years I've been thinking about this shit. I think this has a pretty good likelihood of continuing its trajectory and continuing to be a non-sovereign granted right of exclusion to very, very valuable property that can't be taken from you. And when you have control of that, you become truly, in every sense of the word, sovereign. You control property. That's what the sovereign does. Right now, you are property to the sovereign. You can, as a property, as a resource to the sovereign, you can now start making yourself less of a resource to the sovereign, if that makes sense. So yes, independence is 12 or 24 words away.
Yeah, I think it has caught on. I'm an idealist. I feel like, oh, it's caught on. And the white paper here, I've got the shot heard around the world, kind of. And then the siege of Boston was won. And we haven't signed the Treaty of Versailles yet, but I think we got snipers in the woods just picking off CBDC bots.
Maybe. I mean, if they start rolling out those stable coins and that becomes the de facto payment method, then, how you acquire that Bitcoin is going to become a different issue, right? Because now the only rail you have to access it is now the government controlled rail. So, but that's true already anyway, for the most part. Get Vexel, download Vexel. You can go peer-to-peer exchange your Bitcoin with somebody else. You can go sign up with Simple Mining, and you can actually mine some non-KYC Bitcoin right to your wallet. That's a pretty cool deal. Or go spin up a bunch of miners yourself. I think you only need about an exahash, and you should be able to guarantee yourself a block. So, yeah.
And
there's options still, but that window is closing rapidly. So,
and even with all the capture state that is Europe, things over MiCA licenses and their new digital euro, Bull Bitcoin remains solidly based and functional. There was actually an article written about it here. Hello, Bull Bitcoin's navigating it very carefully, maintaining their MiCA license in France, extends out to preferred nations and throughout Europe, and so Bull Bitcoin's working and is soon to be in America. So they're handling it well.
You might want to edit that out, Fritz.
Oh, I thought that was a soon incoming thing. Anyway, it's good things are on the horizon, but Bull Bitcoin's managing a lot of good, balancing the rights to self-custody and privacy, as well as remaining functional and approved in Europe. So
yeah. I mean, they're navigating a dense landscape, and it's not easy to navigate. That is a tricky wicket to navigate the MiCA license. Like, that's not trivial. So good job for those guys. Love the Bitcoin people. Gigi, good friend over there. We were hanging out chatting with Andrew the other day. Awesome. They're just awesome human beings. Like, if there's any wallet I would recommend today, it's Bull Bitcoin wallet. Like, it's got some amazing features, and if you kind of learn how to get and navigate that wallet really well, like, it's pretty tight, man. What they're doing and what they're building is really, really cool. So huge fans of Bull Bitcoin. Always nice to see them.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think, man? We've been doing about an hour and a half here. You want to wrap her up?
Yeah.
You got to make a new MicroSeed ad, dude. You got to do it.
I know the one I've had now has got the old version. Works, and outcome is the same. In fact, better. The look and feel of the kit, it's it's not the old one anymore. It's the new one.
Yeah.
And it's easier to use, easier to see what you're doing, more affordable, more accessible. So
yeah, super excited about the new version. Like, I'm really happy that people seem to be responding positively to it, and hopefully we can get some more people taking self-custody this year. Like, let's get 100,000 Bitcoiners in self-custody in 2026. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. Run a node. Okay, so well, I'll play the ad, but just
cool.
know that version 2 is better and easy to get. MicroSeed.io.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Johnny, it's always great to see you. Travis and Robin, it's always cool to see you guys. Sweet Biddy, if you're still here, hi. Thank you. It's always great to see people come in and, listen to a couple old guys blather on about stuff.
Freedom. Back in my day, we were free.
Get off my lawn.
All right, here we go. As a Bitcoiner, you know that taking self-custody is critically important. MicroSeed is the best way to take self-custody. Secure the most important property in the world that you own on titanium. So check this out. You put your washer in here, you set the table, you grab your punches, and you tap, click, tap, stamp whatever you want. However you want it. It's tiny but clean and aligned. So get off paper and get yourself a MicroSeed at microseed.io.